Good day mga kamat-aral. Today we're going to discuss a new lessons in mathematics for its quarter 1. So today's lesson is all about the properties of operations. So in here, we're going to recall the rules on multiplying and dividing integers, or share with you the rules of multiplying and dividing integers, and also we can illustrate the different properties of operations on the set of integers or real numbers. So for us to start our lessons, let's proceed. First of all, I want to share with you the process or ways on how to multiply and divide integers. So let's begin with like sign integers. In multiplying and dividing the like sign integers, the sign of its product and its quotient is always positive sign. So let's begin with the first example. First example is positive 3 times positive 7. So as you can see, these two integers has the same sign. So basically, it is 3 times 7, and that is 21. Since the common sign is positive, so that is why the sign of 21 is positive. So if we're going to rewrite positive 21, it is the same as 21 itself by omitting the positive sign o tinanggal po natin. So the next one is negative 5 times negative 4. Basically, it is 5 times 4. As you can see, they are the same sign. They are both negative. So, 5 times 4 is 20. So, since they are the same sign, the sign of 20 is positive. If we're going to rewrite positive 20, it is the same as 20 by omitting the positive sign, because automatically this is positive integer or positive 20 and positive 21 respectively. So ayun po siya. So we define or we justify or we prove that the sign of its product and its quotient is always positive in sign. So for number 3, so basically we're focused on multiplications for first and second example. And for number 3, negative 4 divided by negative 2. So as you can see here, these two integers is the same in sign, both negative. So basically, it is 4 divided by 2, and that is 2. Since they are both negative, both in sign, the answer is positive 2 or as easy as 2. So for the last part of this example, negative 16 divided by negative 2. So basically, it is 16 divided by 2, and that is 8. So because they are both in sign, automatically the answer is positive in sign. And our answer is positive 8 or 8 for number 4 example. So, for us to understand more about the ways on how to divide and multiply integers, let's move to next slide. So in here, the process or ways on how to multiply and divide integers for a like sign. In multiplying, dividing, and like sign integers, the sign of its product and its quotient is always negative sign. So let's begin with the first example. So negative 6 times positive 5 is equal to negative 30. So the same concepts we've used on our previous slides. So negative 30 because they are unlike signs. One is negative and one is positive. So negative 30 is the answer. We're going to write it is the same as negative 30 itself. And for the second example, positive 8 times positive 7 is equal to negative 56. If we're going to rewrite it, it is the same as negative 56 as itself. Ayan po siya. So, for the third example naman, we have negative 14 divided by positive 7. So, basically, it is negative 14 divided by 7 as we did in our previous slides. So, since they are indifferent sign or unlike sign, so the answer is negative 2. Ayun po. As what we have did in our previous slides. The concepts we've used on our previous slides. And on number 4, positive 36 divided by negative 6. Basically, 36 divided by 6. So, 36 divided by 6 is 6. But they are with different sign. One is positive and one is negative. So that is why our answer is negative 6 po. Ayan. So, moving on. Since we're done in sharing with you the ways and procedures on how to multiply and divide integers for like and unlike signs, let's now start in our topic today. Our topic today is all about the properties of operations on real numbers. So let's begin with closure property of addition. For any integers a and b, a plus b is an integer. This is closed for addition since the addends are integers. The sum is also an integer. For example, example number 1 is 3 plus 7. They are paired number under addition. Example number 2, positive 7 plus negative 1 is a paired number under closure property of addition. Take note, paired number under addition. So that is closure property of additions. Moving on, next one is the closure property of multiplications. For any integers a and b, a times b, the dot here indicate multiplication process. A times b is an integer. This is closed under multiplications. Since the factors are integers, the product is also an integer. For example, number 1, negative 5 times negative 8. Is it, is it pair, number, or integer under closure property of multiplications? Number 2, positive 14 times negative 2 is another paired number or integers under closure property of multiplications. So for our next slides, the third property is the commutative property of additions. For any integers a and b, a plus b is the same or equal to b plus a. The order of addends will not affect the sum. So for example, letter A, positive 6 plus negative 2 equals negative 2 plus 6. How can we justify that this properties is equal to this side or to other side? So 6 plus negative 2, we're going to use the rule number 2 of adding integers. If you still remember po, gagamitin po natin siya. So 6 plus negative 2 is 4. So in here naman, ganun din. Negative 2 plus 6 is 4. So that is why this is a commutative property of additions. So it says here, the order of addends will not affect the sum. Pagpalit-palitin man po natin sila ng posisyon, but the signs is kasama pa rin po sa pagpapalit ng posisyon. Hindi po dapat siya mawawala. Be mindful po sa mga ganong chances. Letter B example, negative 8 plus negative 3 is equal to negative 3 plus negative 8. So as you can see, pinagpalit lang po natin ang positions. So in here, applying the rule 1 of adding integers, negative 8 plus negative 3 is negative 11. Is equal to negative 3 plus negative 8 is again negative 11 pa rin po siya. Okay, so the same concepts we use in letter A. So this is under commutative property of additions. So the next property is, if we have commutative property of additions, we also have commutative property of multiplications. It says here, for any integers a and b, a times b is equal to b times a. The order of factors will not affect the product. So, for example, letter A. 7 times negative 5 is the same as or equal to negative 5 times 7. So, the product of these two integers is 35. But they are unlike sign. One is positive, positive 7, and one is negative. So the product of 7 and 5 basically is 35, and you're going to add negative sign here. Yan po. So you're going to put negative sign here. The same here, negative 5 times positive 7 is negative 35. So that's the way on how to multiply integers of unlike sign or with unlike signs. So next, letter B. Positive 10 times positive 6 is 60. Be equal to 6 times 10 or positive 6 times positive 10 is equal to 60. As you can see here, pagpalitin man natin sila ng position, mauna man po siya o pangalawa, the product itself is the same. So it says here the order of factors will not affect the product. So that is why we can say and we can conclude that this example is under commutative property of multiplications. It well said, very well po yan. Next is associative property of additions. It says here, for any integers a, b, and c, the quantity or the group of a plus b plus c is equal to a plus the group of b plus c. Different groupings of addends will not affect the sum. Kaya po kanina binabasa ko po na group. But in other book, it is read as quantity, but it is proper to use groups because we're referring on the properties na nabanggit po. So for example, letter A. The group of 3 plus 7 plus negative 4 is equal to 3 plus to the group of 7 plus negative 4. So if we're going to work it one by one, so unahin po natin na sa group. 3 plus 7 is 10. Plus negative 4, kopya lamang po. In here, si 3, kopya lamang po, and we're going to work with this group. 3 plus negative 4, applying the rules of Adding integers, that is 3. So 10 plus negative 4 on this side, applying the rules of adding integers, that is 6. And 3 plus 3 is 6 also. So we can say that this example is a rather associative property of additions because it proves that the different groupings of addends will not affect the sum. So, pareho naman po siya ng sagot. So, as you can see. So, letter B, the group of negative 2 plus 8 plus 5 is the same with negative 2 plus the group of 8 plus 5. Okay, take it one at a time. Negative 2 plus 8, applying the rules of adding integers, that is 6 plus 5, take place. Copy lang po. Negative 2, kopya ulit. Plus 8 plus 5, 13. So 6 plus 5 is 11. And negative 2 plus 13, applying the rules of adding integers, that is 11 also. So we can say that example A and B here are under associative property of additions. So napatunayan po na pagpalit-palit lang po ng groupings, it will not affect the sum, the groupings of addends. Hindi po maapektuhan ang pinakasagot. So, moving forward, so if we have associative property of additions, we also have associative property of multiplications. It says here that for any integers a, b, and c, the group of a times b times c is equal to a times the group of b times c. Different groupings of factors will not affect the product. So, for example, letter A. So, the group of 4 times 5 times 7 is equal to 4 times to the group of 5 times 7. As you can see here, the groupings interchange. The first group is 4 and 5, and the second group is 5 and 7. So, take it one at a time. 4 times 5 is 20. Then 7, copy, equals. 5 times 7 is 35. Then 4, copy. And now, 20 times 7 is 140. And to this side, 4 times 35 is 140 also. So now, we can say that this is under associative property of multiplications because its product is the same. The next one is the group of negative 2 times 6 times negative 4 is equal to negative 2 times to the group of 6 times negative 4. Okay, take it one at a time. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12 times negative 4. So, as you can see here, pareho naman po sila ng sign. So, is equal to negative 2 times negative 24. The same sign. So, negative 12 times negative 4 is positive 48. Applying the rules of multiplying integers of with like signs. And then on this part, negative 2 times negative 24 is positive 48. So then and again, it is under the associative property of multiplications because the product itself does not affect with interchanging of groups. Ayan po. The first group is negative 2 and 6. The next group is 6 times negative 4. So as you can see in our example. So, moving on. So next is the identity property of additions. It says here for any integer a plus 0 is equal to a. The sum of any numbers and 0 will always be equal to the number. The identity element of addition is 0. So please bear in mind that the identity element of addition is 0. Pakitandaan po. So for our example, letter A, 15 plus 0 is equal to 15. And for letter B, 0 plus negative 8 is equal to negative 8. Any number added to 0 is the number itself in sum or in your answer. So as you can see here, by the definition itself, the sum of any number and 0 will always be equal to the number itself. So in here, 0 plus negative 8 is equal to negative 8 as itself po. Ayan. So for us to understand more about the succeeding properties, let's move forward. So in our previous slides, we have identity property of additions. In here, we also have identity property of multiplications. So instead, it says here that for any integer a times 1 is equal to a. The product of any number and 1 will always be equal to the number. The identity elements of multiplication is 1. So please bear in mind that the identity element of multiplication is 1. Please do remember po, pakitandaan po iyan. And for our example, letter A, positive 32 times positive 1 is equal to positive 32 or 32. Letter B, positive 1 times negative 15 is equal to negative 15 itself. So, any number multiplied to 1 has a product of a number itself. Tulad po na nakita niyo pong yan. Including its signs. Ayan po. As you can see in our examples. So, moving forward. So now we are on the additive inverse property. For any integer a plus negative a is equal to 0. The opposites of the given integer is called its additive inverse. The sum of a number and its additive inverse is 0. So how can you justify that the given integers has its opposite? So for example, ito po, letter A. It is positive 10. The opposite of positive 10 is negative 10. We're going to take the sum of these inverse numbers or additive inverse, 10 plus negative 10. The sum is always 0. Ayan po, tatandaan niyo po yan. So, if we're going to take the rules of adding, or rather to apply the rules of adding integers, the sum is 0. So for letter B, negative 2 plus positive 2 is 0 again. So applying the rules of adding integers, you will find that the answer is 0. So yun po yun. So take note, this is under additive inverse property. Whenever that the integer is given and it is asked for the inverse, you are going to take the opposites of that integer. If it is positive 10, the inverse of its in addition is negative 10. Para po magkaroon ka ng sagot na 0. Ayan po. So, moving forward, in our previous slides, we have additive inverse property. And here, we have multiplicative inverse property. It says here that the reciprocal of the given integer is called its multiplicative inverse. The product of a number and its multiplicative inverse is 1. The question is, how can we justify that the given integer has its own multiplicative inverse? So, Let's now proceed on our example. So ito po siya, letter A. If you still remember the the concepts that your teachers in mathematics in elementary, every integer or number has its imaginary one denominator. So, so it says here that you can have the multiplicative inverse of a given integer once you are very known for this or well known for this. So, since this is 3 over 1 and you are asked to find what is the inverse of 3 over 1, all you have to do is to get its reciprocal. So 3 over 1, reciprocal is 1 over 3. So if you're going to multiply these two integers with imaginary 1 denominator, so 3 times 1 is 3, numerator to numerator, 1 times 3 is 3, so that's it. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So that's it. The product of the product of two integers which is under multiplicative inverse is always 1. So please bear in mind that the multiplicative inverse is 1. Ayan po, makikita niyo po siya. So please bear in mind these words. The multiplicative inverse is 1. So on the next example, letter B, so again, we have imaginary 1 denominator. So the reciprocal of negative 5 is negative 1 over 5. Take note, the sign must take place. Lagi pong kasama po yan, hindi mo dapat yan iniiwanan. If it is negative 5, your inverse or reciprocal is negative pa rin. So, the same as negative sign. So, negative 5 over 1 times negative 1 over 5. So, since they are both negative sign, the sign of the product is positive. So, kaya po ganyan siya. So, the same concepts we've used here. Same concepts lang naman po ang gagamitin dyan. So, tulad po nito. So, negative 5 times 1 is negative 5 divided by 1 times 5 is 5. So, 5 divided by 5 is 1. So, ayun po ang ating sagot. So, 1. So, it supports the definition itself that the reciprocal of the given integer is called its multiplicative inverse. Ayan po. And the product of a number and a multiplicative inverse po ang tawag dyan, is always 1, as you can see on your screen po. So, moving forward, so now, we are now on zero property of multiplications. For any integer a times 0 is equal to 0. Any integer multiplied by 0 is equal to 0. So, as easy as that. Example na letter A. Negative 98 times 0 is 0. Example letter B. 0 times negative 12 is 0. It is quite simple that every integer that you multiply to 0 is equal to 0 or has a product of 0. So, ganun lamang po yun. Kahit anong integer po ay multiply po natin sa 0, ang sagot lagi niyan ay 0. So, let's proceed. In here, we have distributive property of multiplications over additions. It says here, for any integers a, b, and c, a times the group of a plus b is the same or equal to a times b plus a times c. So, this is not just ab, it is A times B plus A times C. Adding first before multiplying or distributing the factors to each addend will give the same results. So, let's begin with letter A example and take it one at a time. So, this is the left hand and the right hand. So, the left hand says 6 times to the group of 4 plus 8. Ayan po. Is equal to, ang gagawin naman po natin dito sa part na ito, we're going to distribute. We're going to distribute 6 to 4, as you can see here, in multiplication process, plus, kokopyahin nyo lang po si plus, ito po yun, si plus sign, or si addition sign, and then you're going to distribute 6 to 8, as you can see here. Ayan. Ayan po. So, we satisfy the first line. Ngayon, if we're going to take it one at a time, 4 plus 8 is 12. Dito naman po tayo, 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 8 is 48. And copy the plus sign or the addition sign. And in here, 6 times 12 is 72. If we're going to take the sum of 24 and 48, that is 22. As the same as the left hand answer. So, ayun po. It holds or it proves that the properties of distributive property of multiplication over addition is used here po. Ito po siya. At tama po yan. So, the same concepts on first example, sa distributive property of multiplication over additions, we can apply here. So, ito po. Distributions pa rin po ulit tayo. So, we're going to distribute negative 5 here. Ayan po. And as you can see, ito po ang nangyari sa right hand na nakita niyo po dun sa left hand. So, in here, we're going to distribute negative 5 to 10. Ayan po, as you can see here. But don't forget the addition sign. So, we satisfy the first line. So, negative 5 times the group of negative 3 plus 10 is equal to negative 5 times negative 3 plus negative 5 times 10. So, yun po yun. So, we satisfy the first line. Take it one at a time. Yan sa loob. Negative 3 plus 10 is positive 7. And then negative 5 copy. Okay? And now, take it one at a time. Negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15 rather. And negative 5 times 10 is negative 50 as you can see. Ayan po. Applying the rules of multiplying integers of unlike sign and unlike sign as we have earlier. So, this one, negative 5 times 7 is negative 35. And in here, if we're going to take the sum of 15 and negative 50, it gives us negative 35, applying the rule number 2 of adding integers. So, kung mapapansin niyo po, pareho po sila ng sagot, and that proves that the distributive property of multiplication over additions is applicable and is used here. At yan ay tama po. So, sa distributive property of multiplication over additions, ang ginagawa po dito ay dinedistribute po siya. Okay? From the word itself, distribution. Ayan po. So, let's move forward. These are the practice exercises given to you guys. So, ano ang mga properties na ginagamit po dito? The first one is commutative property of addition. The next one is additive inverse. Dahil ito po, inverse po itong dalawang to. Isang positive 8 at negative 8. And this one, so number 3, it is Distributive property of multiplications over additions. And this one, multiplicative identity. Bakit? Ayan po. Ayan po, may 1 po tayo. And for this one is multiplicative inverse. Bakit po? Balik, reciprocal po sila. Ayan. So, in this part naman sa learning task 2, we are asked to complete the following to make it true as a statement and determine the property applied. For number 1, ang sagot po dyan, 6 yung wala, at yung property sa ginamit ay commutative property of additions. And the rest is for you guys to learn, and the learning task is prepared na po sa ating Google Classroom. So with that, thank you mga kamag-aral. Thanks for tuning in and listening in our discussions. Please do like and share and subscribe our YouTube channel. MathAral Tayo ng Mabuti. God bless everyone!